On the Cairo streets, anger against Israel is mixing with anger against Egypt's security forces. Outside the Israeli embassy building, it's become a battle for control. Protesters threw petrol bombs, bricks and bottles, while the police tried to literally drive them off the streets. When that wasn't enough, tear gas was fired. The air became thick with choking fumes and the demonstrators backed off. It followed several hours during which security forces had been pushed onto the defensive. The object of the protesters' anger was the Israeli embassy, housed in a multi-storey building. Thousands of demonstrators surrounded the block, and then some broke in and scaled its balconies. To great cheers from below, the Israeli flag was ripped off its fixings and thrown into the crowd.
I didn't care about the risks. I was ready to die for taking down the flag. I wanted to beat the enemies, killing my brothers. Those killing my brothers must all die.
The day had begun with a large protest in Liberation Square. It had been organised by secular and left-wing groups demanding that Egypt's military rulers speed up political reforms and end unfair trials. About 1,000 people had then marched from the square to the embassy building several kilometres away. Blocked by a high wall, erected only recently, they began to tear it down with hammers and an improvised battering ram. Eventually it gave way and the crowd surged inside.
In the past few months, we've all noticed that life in Egypt has not changed since before January the 25th. So the Egyptian people have decided, after Ramadan, to reassert themselves on the streets in order to correct the path of the revolution, which is a path of reform that the revolution should never waver from.
The Israeli authorities say that only the consular department was broken into, but hundreds of documents were scattered into the street. This anger against Israel has been rising in Egypt since mid-August. The trigger was Israel's killing of 5 Egyptian border guards during an operation against militants who'd killed 8 Israelis. That's raised tensions in the region to a new high. Combined with the existing frustrations in Egypt about the grindingly slow pace of political change, it's produced a toxic atmosphere. And there's no sign of it dissipating. The violence on the streets of Cairo, at least, continues. Bill Hayton, BBC News.